ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהכל נהיה בדברו. Those of us who go to the synagogue on the Sabbath, on Shabbat, we know that the Shabbat before Rosh Chodesh, before the beginning of the month, there is an announcement made in the synagogue. You know, we're going to sanctify the new month that is going to start in such and such a date. How do we know when the month is going to begin? Because we have calendars. You know, we have a calendar today that will tell you that in 50 years from now, exactly when Rosh Chodesh Menachem Av is going to be. But years ago, during the existence of the Beit HaMikdash, it was different. That was done by witnesses who came to a Beit Din and said, we just saw the new moon. The new moon just appeared. That is the beginning of the month. What does the new moon have to do with the beginning of the month? You know, in a Gregorian calendar, you compute the time, the number of days it takes for the earth to go once around the sun. That is 365 days. Then you divide that into 12 parts, more or less the same, and you get a month, 30 days, 31 days. The Jewish month is not calculated that way. It is the time it takes for the moon, that is a satellite of the earth, to go once around the earth. And that is 29 days and 13 hours plus some minutes, some additional minutes. Therefore, a Jewish month has either 29 or 30 days, because that's the time it takes for the moon to go around the earth in order to compensate for the difference. But if you calculate the 12 months of the Jewish calendar, you have about 354, 355 days. And you want to compensate for the solar year, that is 365 days, to make sure that Passover is in the springtime in the northern hemisphere of the earth. You want to make sure that it comes out always at that time. So therefore we add periodically. There is a system of every cycle of 19 years that you add an additional month in such and such a year in order to compensate for that difference. So how was the Jewish month established then years ago? It was Kedusha al pi hareiyah, according to the witnesses who saw with their own eyes that the new moon appeared. But later on, when there was no longer a Beit HaMikdash, a mathematical calendar was developed, and now we know exactly when Rosh Chodesh is going to be. So many people argue, you know, we do certain things because we have seen them in the home of our parents. Kedusha al pi hareiyah, sanctity by seeing, by observing. How do I know that you are supposed to eat milk products during Shavuot? Because I saw it in the home of my parents. Comes Pesach Matzah, you don't eat bread. I don't have to be taught that, because there was Kedusha al pi hareiyah, because I saw it. Nowadays, in many a Jewish home, you have that same thing. But on the other hand, there are many homes where this is no longer observed. There's no Kedusha al pi hareiyah. If you want to get close to the Jewish tradition, you have to study, you have to go to books. It has to be al pi hacheshbon. You have to investigate. You have to read about it. You can do it. I'm not saying no, but it isn't exactly the same thing. Rabbi Norman Lamb makes a difference between the Ma'aseh Merkavah, the heavenly seat of the Lord, with the angels around it, visions of two prophets, two different prophets, Yeshayahu and Yecheskel. Yeshayahu lived at the time of the Beit HaMikdash. Yecheskel prophesied in the exile. And he says there is a difference between the two. One is when you are in your own home, when you are in Israel, when there is a Beit HaMikdash, you see heaven in a different way. But when you are in exile, you see heaven in another way. Well, many of us are fortunate that we grew up in homes where we saw many things. Well, those of us that didn't see it, we can still study about it. But let us make sure that our children will be able to attain Kedusha al pi hareiyah, that they should sense in our homes virtues, that they should hear Jewish music, that they should see Jewish holidays celebrated, they should hear the Torah explained, they should be imbued with tradition, not only because they read about it, but it was an experiential. It was something that they lived in their own homes, and therefore they imbibed it through their eyes, through their ears, through their selves, through themselves, their entire selves, who were in that environment.